Hello, and welcome to the Graveyard Media Podcast, episode 74 for the week of January 21st, 2019. I'm your host, Saine Grey. With me is Dalsson.
Hello.
And Thel.
I'm here too.
My camera still looks a little dark. I'm going to turn up the brightness.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I feel like that.
So, we're going to talk about video games and movies we've checked out this week. And then, in the second half of the show, talk about video game and movie news.
Excellent.
Shit.
So I have a problem in that I don't really think I've played much at all this week.
That's okay. We can talk about exactly one thing. Yeah. I can talk about like something for a little bit.
Yeah, why don't you go first?
Trying to think. The first thing I want to do is this was an announcement that was just made to me. I feel like I need to find that Thought You Were Dead image macro, but apparently Starbarians 3 finally fucking came out 22 billion years later. Happy Harry hasn't given us shit, and he just dropped this on us. Thanks, though.
I have no idea what that is.
After the podcast.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Fuck. Remember the guy who did Saturday Morning Watchmen?
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, that dude's been working on a series called Starbarians for... It's been like 5 gosh darn years since he released the first one, and he's been saying he's gonna put out Starbarians 3 for like 4 of those 5 years?
I see.
And it's been a very long time coming, and there's been very little updates, but it's finally here. Thank you, Happy Harry. It's probably great.
Did you just go from drinking water to drinking Guinness?
Yes.
Why?
Oh, him?
Yes, because I sipped the water and I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
He sipped the water and was like, wait. Need some malt. Hold up. Ah, there we go.
For the health of our podcast, I'd prefer you drink water, but that's fine.
I need one beer.
One beer. Okay.
For the health of our podcast, which you are part of, so your health directly impacts.
So, Thel, what do you want to talk about?
Okay, shit, dude. Let's get some of the, like, quick stuff out of the way. I actually did play a little bit of Into the Breach. And,
oh, really?
So, yeah, I don't, the problem is I don't feel like I have all that much to say. I played just a little bit of it, and it is really, really fun. I'm sort of getting into that point where I'm getting into the swing of it and sort of understanding how it's going. I had one actually really, really good run where I was essentially got past the first island with only like half of the grid destroyed, and then I realized I could spend my points on repairing the grid and also afford all of my other stuff. Like, I was able to keep a lot of the things. A big problem is one of the things that I never use is the repair button, which allows you to immediately repair one of your dudes instead of attacking, which is ridiculously good. And I never use it. And it always repairs immediately before the bugs attack. And it's like, I always have to remember that, like, the bugs will take damage before they attack. The bomb that the bugs are on the spaces of will be dropped before the bugs attack. Everything happens in the turn before the bugs attack. So if
not everything, but there is a turn order thing that you can look at.
Yeah.
So there's a button that will tell you not only when the environmental effects will happen, they'll also tell you like if fire is going to damage them when that'll happen, and then also the order in which they attack. So you can line them up so one enemy will kill another enemy before attacking a thing.
Okay, I actually didn't know about that button.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which button it is.
Game conveys every bit of information you need. We mean literally every piece of information you could ever need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've mostly been playing it by ear and sort of figuring out the patterns as I went. So yeah, I'll have to look at that fucking button. 'Cause, yeah, that would help. There were a couple times where it's like, oh geez, I hope this bug kills this other bug before it attacks.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I don't actually know which order these bugs are supposed to attack in, but let's fucking wait and see. Yeah, it's it is a very, very fun strategy game. I love the multitude of ways you can deal with problems.
Especially as you unlock more mechs too.
Oh yeah, I don't even know if I've gotten close to that shit. But yeah, I love how every like loss is just another like step in the fucking like the way you go, you know? It's like you level up a dude and then the world is fucked, so you gotta
story wise you're resetting the timeline every time, so you're going back
and then also like your dude levels up, so you can still use him. You can like choose to use that particular guy who's already previously leveled up, so it's like on a run by run basis, like every previous run affects the next run, and if you can keep a guy going, then it's like really really nice. Yeah, I'm really liking it.
I actually beat my first run an hour before, or 2 hours ago, or something.
Oh boy!
Right. The last level I didn't realize is 2 levels, not 1 level.
Oh,
so that was an interesting thing to find out. Luckily, they heal you to full, so it's not like, even though my dudes were fucked up, they were full health again, so that was good.
Right.
And my ability, like my cool, like the once use abilities reset too, so that was good.
So it works as like 2 back-to-back encounters instead of
right,
like a map the size of 2.
Yeah, I couldn't change my equipment, but I did refresh what I had equipped already. So
okay.
Yeah, I unlocked another group called the Blitzkrieg, and they have lightning that changes through enemies, but they are difficult to use, so I don't like them as much. But because I was able, this last run, I was doing super well. It got to the point where the damage I was dealing to enemies was much in excess of them dealing to me, so I was able to, after 2 islands, I was like, man, that last map, I killed every enemy each turn. So I'm just gonna go into the final map, because after you do 2 islands, you can go to the final map immediately.
Without doing the 3rd one?
Without doing I think there's 4. I think you can do 4.
Yeah, there are 4 islands.
Yeah, and then there's a 2 island, 3 island, and 4 island.
And once you get to them, you can do them in any order.
Yeah.
So I had done 2, and I was like, man, I am like so far ahead in damage that I should just do it now, because I might actually win right now, versus if I waited till later. So I was able to beat it. It was really cool.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
The last turn, I thought I was going to lose, but I figured out that I was able to push the bomb that like you need to protect to win in front of a attack, so that the bomb would take the attack without blowing up.
Oh yeah.
So I used the bomb as a shield, even though probably I shouldn't. Like normally you wouldn't think to do that, but it works.
In my last thing, I had 1 star that was kill the thing and 1 that was protect the corporate building. The thing is, the big thing was about to kill my mech and kill the corporate building, so I instead decided to have my mech slam the big thing into the corporate building, killing it instantly, saving my dude instead.
There you go.
Sometimes you just have to save your own dude.
I love how, and I was really like, I was like, the vet gave me no choice, I'm sorry. It's like, fuck, dude, yeah, they sure didn't. This was the path of least resistance. This was the best possible outcome for what was going to happen. Now everything is safe aside from that one thing.
Yeah, on some level, you have to make decisions. Like sometimes you'll have your dudes take the shot, get hit, because it's you're worried more about the grid than them taking damage most of the time.
Yeah, especially because of the fact that
their health is temporary.
Yeah, especially because you can just like repair their health,
right?
And it resets every mission. So,
but there are other times where it's like, shit,
I don't want to lose this.
Like
dude.
If this guy is standing here, he's gonna die. And sure, I might fail other parts of the mission, but like this dude needs to live.
Yeah.
So, yeah, one of the best things about that game is it really does generate stories, and that's one of the best things about games like this. Like one of my favorite aspects of run type games is that they often will generate stories, and this is a great game for that.
Oh yeah. Hold up. Give me a second. The sneeze is coming.
Don't you do it. Don't sneeze.
Darn it. Okay, anyway. Where was it? That sneeze removed my brain. Uh, yeah. That not only does it give you stories, but it definitely like shoves you into these like no-win scenarios that are really really nice. Where it's like you have to make those tough decisions if you wanna succeed in the mission. Sometimes it's against the Kobayashi Maru. Sometimes you just can't win.
I feel
Sometimes you run into problems.
I feel like most of the time, the way that I approach these these maps when I'm playing the game is that there is a way to do exactly what I want. I just need to figure out what it is.
Yeah, and for the most part, there really is. But you know,
sometimes you have to make bad decisions. Like sometimes it means you're the one who shoots your own grid, but but you know it'll accomplish a bigger goal. So there's like you have to think outside of the box sometimes.
Lots of trade-offs and sacrifices.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that time where I rolled the bomb in front of an enemy, I also did that by shooting my own dude. So, like, sometimes you have to just be willing to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
All right. Into the Breach, really good.
Yeah. Into the Breach, really good. What?
I love it, and I gotta play more of it.
Yeah.
I remember to do so.
I play more of The Witcher 3. Every time I play that game, it blows me away a little bit, which is great.
Oh, yeah, I played more Path of Exile, man. Let me start telling you.
yeah. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that. Witcher 3, continue playing. It's still good.
I play this game called Heroes of the
Storm.
Storm.
For like months. Yeah. Yeah?
I've been playing it on and off for months, mostly. Just because of the fact that, like, I've been doing a lot of other stuff, so I haven't, like, sunk as much time as I want to into it, but yeah, it's kind of like a you play it for months kind of game, and I really like that. It's a great Witcher 2 hyped it up really good, and it lived up to the hype that Witcher 2 put on it. So good work, CD Projekt Red. I'm still excited for Cyberpunk. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, all right.
There's also
glad they're a good video game.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we
also played that.
Still good. Good.
It is still good. I like they added like little daily quests and weekly quests to get extra loot and stuff. And those loot boxes aren't tied to your like maximum. You can get the highest quality equipment out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not tied to money, so
they're not tied to money.
It's literally just like a progression thing, and that's it. It's specifically for like you get like random pieces of items as you level up.
Loot boxes, it's almost like opening a loot box in something like Diablo or Borderlands. You get random pieces of gear.
Yeah. Also, they're always weapons.
Level. Yeah, and they're always weapons.
So,
well, they're weapons or charms or like.
I guess that's true.
Things that will make you better. They will make your character stronger. You cannot buy them, and they are all like scaled up to your level. Yeah. So you will usually get something that is stronger than the one you have, unless the one you have is just really.
You know, back in the day that Borderlands came out, if you said loot boxes, we wouldn't have to spend 10 minutes qualifying it. They would just be like, yes, an in-game mechanic in which you get loot because it's a looter type game.
I completely forgot about the golden keys. Borderlands 2's like Twitter still gives out like golden keys. It's crazy. Insanity, I say. Anyway.
And it's like, I don't know, before you would call it loot, right? You would call it loot. You wouldn't call it loot boxes. Loot boxes imply you open a thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you get loot. You don't get loot boxes.
Yeah, and really, like, we shouldn't, even in Vermintide, we probably shouldn't even think about it as a loot box. We should think about it as loot.
Yeah.
We're gonna think of it as a loot box because it's a box that you open, but...
Yeah, but really it's just random loot.
Yeah, it could drop on the ground mid-game, and it would be the same thing.
It would be the same, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Alright. So now, I've been putting it off, but I should probably talk about the new Suspiria movie. I fucking made a whole-ass video about the original Suspiria movie in preparation for this one, because I was pretty excited. Luca Guadagnino is a man who is very good at directing, and he was directing this movie. He put out last year a movie that got a ton of praise. It won, like, the fucking Critics' Choice Award. For best movie last year, and he put out Suspiria this year, and it was very fucking good. Well, it is the Blade Runner 2049 of Suspiria. Like, that's the best way I can put it. It took what made the original good and expanded on it in such an expansive way that it makes it not only its own thing worth watching, but it enhances the viewing experience of the previous one, and watching the previous one enhances the viewing experience of this one. It's fucking great. The one of the things that it did is like the original took place at a dance studio, and that was sort of like a setting, right? It was a backdrop for the rest of the whole ass movie. In this movie, the dance studio is very specifically important. The dance is like central to the whole theme, to the whole like esoteric everything. They do dances that look like fucking rituals. They and in fact it culminates in a giant what could essentially be considered a dance scene. Like all of like the horror scenes are directly tied to dancing in a really, really fun way.
So I'm interested in watching this movie because I really enjoyed the aesthetic of the first one, but I kind of hated the story. So this one seems like the story is kind of more interesting, how it's been set up. So I think that I would like it better than I liked the first one.
The way that you were talking about it, I actually absolutely do think that you would like this one better. One of the things that a lot of people said, you know, when they were sort of like reviewing it and talking about it like that, a lot of people like mentioned that it was really, really slow, and that and I didn't like get that.
The new one or the old one?
The new one.
Okay.
Or no, yeah, the new one. Usually when people are like, okay, this movie is really, really slow and it's not for everyone, I look at it and it's like a movie like Under the Skin, right? And I go, yeah, I can see that. It's pretty slow. Or a movie like A Ghost Story, it was like, yeah, I understand what you're doing there. I can see what you mean. This movie would turn off general audiences, but it's not for them, so they can go fuck themselves. But I didn't get that out of this movie. I didn't like. It's a long movie, right? It's one whole Blade Runner 2049. It's 2.5 hours, but it doesn't really feel slow. Is the thing, because there's constantly things happening. There's always intrigue going on, stuff in the background. One of the things that I really like that it does is it plays with the characters a lot. It takes characters that were essentially like there and makes them into more. It really expands on stuff, specifically within the Witch's Coven. The Witch's Coven were in the original Suspiria just the bad guy, and that's all they needed to be. They were just bad guys who killed people because they didn't like those people, or those people didn't like them. In this, the Witch's Coven is very much comprised of people. Some people do not like the things that they do, and the reason that they are doing these things are different from the previous movie, which is we are killing people because we are the horror movie villains. In this, it is we are killing people to achieve a specific goal, which some don't believe is worth it at all. Some people don't believe that the head of the cult, the coven, is actually Mater Superiorum, one of the three mothers, and some of them like are completely against her. There's like this fissure inside, so there's like witch politics going on in the background, which is really interesting.
Witch politics. Yeah, that does sound
like,
interesting.
The shot that I keep going back to, like in my mind,
maybe
is
they
the
don't.
Shot that,
Maybe they don't think it's like slow. Maybe they just think it's hard to follow, and they're just using the word slow wrong.
No. They're specifically taught when they say slow, they mean slow. They talk about this like it's some like ponderous, really slowly paced, because that's like they constantly refer to it as though it's like that. Yeah.
I have a question.
Hit me with it.
Would you say that the Zodiac is slow by comparison?
Zodiac the movie?
Yeah. Because I thought the Zodiac was really slow, personally.
Maybe. I would think the Zodiac is a little bit slower by comparison, definitely. Mostly because of the fact that Zodiac sort of like is paced out almost like a TV show and a movie, right? Because it sort of like jumps in between timelines, and it takes its time with multiple different aspects of finding the Zodiac killer, whereas this is like a very straight through line, and there's constantly things going on in the background.
Now that you mentioned that, I think I probably would have liked Zodiac better if it was broken up into a series.
Yeah. And this movie sort of does feel like it could have been broken up into a series, because it feels like there was a lot of scenes that were cut from this movie. There's like stuff that was brought up previously, like that the witches could do. Like there was a specific scene where Susie and fucking Madame Blanc are talking like using telepathy, right? And it's like that was mentioned previously in the movie that they could do that, and that was something that like they taught to their students who they were grooming to sort of be witches. But it's like there's no like actual scene showing that. It's just like suddenly they're talking with, you know, their fucking minds, and there's not really a build up to that. And there probably was a scene that was a build up, but it was taken out eventually because they felt like just like the mentioning of that would make it understandable that they just eventually got to that. Yeah,
gotta love some good foreshadowing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was another thing about the growing of the characters. Madame Blanc is a really, really good character in this movie, whereas she was like the head witches lady in the previous movie who is doing bad things. And that's great. Madame Blanc is played, of course, by Tilda Swinton, who plays 3 roles in this movie. She plays an old man, Madame Blanc, and what's her name? Helena Marcos.
Now, is there a reason for that, or is it just cause?
That's the thing I've been trying to figure out. I know there is a very specific reason for that. There is a reason that Luca Guadagnino decided to make that choice. I'm not exactly sure what it was. I'm still trying to like work that out.
So there was a reason. It just
he just hasn't told us. I don't.
It's just not very straightforward, right?
Yeah. Right. I understand why she both played Madame Blanc and Helena Marcos, because like I was saying, there's a fissure in the witch politics. Some people are on the side of Madame Blanc, and some people are on the side of Helena Marcos, and believe like one or the other should be the leader of the cult or the coven. I don't want to call it a cult because it's very specifically the theme of the movie. Blah blah blah. But another character she plays is a sort of integral character to the story, who is this like old man who is sort of like pining for his wife and is like a psychiatrist who's trying to help out people who are, you know, done wrong by the coven, and is like investigating it in the background. And it feels like, I want to say that the reason for that is because he is the only male character in the movie, and they wanted a female actor playing that male character, and he's like the only like present male character. There are like a couple of cops who show up at some point. And now that I do think about it, when we're bringing that up, all of the male characters do hang dong. So even if it's fake prosthetic dong. But yeah. And there's certainly some symbolism going on with that, so yeah. With that, I should probably talk about, like I was talking about, how the coven is sort of symbolic, and that's sort of the point of the movie. The coven isn't necessarily seen as like a bad and evil thing where these people are doing, you know, bad and evil things. They're sometimes doing the things that they think are necessary. They've been sort of led astray by Helena Marcos and how she's trying to gain eternal life by putting her soul into a younger body, and how they're, you know, how they don't even know if she's actually Mother Suspiriorum or not, you know.
Right.
So what you're telling me, Thel, is the characters have actual reasons for doing things that is more than just Hail Satan, like in The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Essentially, yeah. They have a lot of that. Yeah, they the thing is, like, with the coven, it's sort of seen as like, and used as like this thing. In the end, it's almost this like pro-coven movie. Like, it's seen as a place where women work hard to get through tough times. They use their abilities to the best that they can to get through all of the difficult times. Like, it's set in like Germany in the 1970s, and there's constant talk about how Madame Blanc and Helena Marcos kept the dance studio alive through the war. And there's this part at the end where the old man is talking to someone, and specifically talks about like her wife, and like how her wife was comforted by 2 other women that she had made friends with. It's this whole thing that I feel like really culminates in the very, I suppose it's a feminist message. It's a very female empowerment movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it plays with that in a really, really interesting and fun way. I saw a lot of people talking about how like they felt that all of the stuff didn't really culminate in that, and I got the completely opposite reaction. I thought that it did a fantastic job. It's probably the best one I've ever seen. Seriously, it's fucking great. Another thing I want to talk about is the cinematography. Saying you said you really like how like pretty the original movie was.
Well, not more than just pretty, but like yeah, the cinematography and the set dressing and like the art of the movie. Yeah.
This movie, like I talked about in the video, it's not. It looks much more like a David Fincher movie. It's very sort of dark. It looks like there's a cloud hanging over everything. You know, the colors are very muted.
Is it similar in aesthetic to that Guillermo del Toro movie? Fuck, I had it a second ago. Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak. A little bit. It's not. It's not as colorful as Crimson Peak. It's similar in aesthetic to Girl with a Dragon Tattoo.
That's interesting because I felt like Crimson Peak was like a modern form of Suspiria, kind of like it took notes from the classic Suspiria. So for the new Suspiria to kind of be removed from that is pretty interesting to me.
In fact, it's almost like not only removed, but it almost takes like the complete opposite approach to like the colors of the world. It's still a very beautiful movie, and the thing is, it definitely does, however, play. Oh, hold on.
What?
Excuse me. It definitely does do cinematography references to Dario Argento, except instead of being very colorful and using like all of the fucking like shapes and everything, all of that, the stuff that you can visually see in a screenshot. What it does instead is it moves the camera like Dario Argento did. It does a lot of stuff that you don't see in movies anymore because they almost look a little bit weird. It has a lot of very hard zoom-ins, very hard and fast zoom-ins on people that just like, you know, they took the lens on the camera and literally dialed it in just to zoom directly in onto a face, or they had like the camera on a dolly and they just moved it directly over to a character really fast. There's constant cutting, which was very much a Dario Argento thing. He would always have the camera constantly moving because he felt like a moving camera is moving action, and this movie very much follows in that particular footstep.
I've seen some scenes of like the dance scenes in particular, like just small clips of it, and it looked really interesting how they were like doing that. Your faces in my your butt's in my way.
And yeah, that is really nice. I'm happy he did that. Another thing is what was it? One of the things, going back a little bit before I actually talk about like the horror elements of it, going back a little bit to the whole female empowerment thing. This is a very I want to say this isn't there was a lot of symbolism going on, especially with like there's a lot of nudity in this movie, but it's not very sexual. This movie isn't an incredibly sexual movie. However, there is a lot of nudity. It's used as sort of a again, it's like used as either empowerment or embarrassment. It's either strips something from a character, whether it's like they're the thing holding them back, or it strips them the thing that's keeping them going. It's used as a metaphor for that rather than like sexuality, which it could have done, but it went in a surprisingly different direction that I feel like worked way better.
Right.
So I want to talk about the horror elements. They're fucking great. Jesus goddamn Christ. There's some fucked up shit in this movie. Specifically, the first person who dies in the most horrible goddamn way that I've seen in a very long time. There's not a lot of blood, but you can physically see, like, inside of her bones are, like, breaking and displacing. Like, you see her jaw, like, slowly break out of place. Her rib cage, like, stretches her skin, and you see, like, a bruise growing there. Her, like, arms and legs get, like, displaced and, like, thrown directly back into her head, and her leg goes
body horror elements, then.
Huge body horror elements, wonderful body horror elements. And essentially, it turns this character into a fucking pretzel that's, like, drooling from the mouth and bleeding from the eyes, and it's fucking horrible. It's great. I love it.
So you really liked the original one. Do you like this one better or about the same?
That's a very tough question. This is one thing I'm gonna have to mull on for a little while, because I've seen the original like a million times, and I've only seen this one like once.
Fair enough.
So this one's gonna take some time to really like digest. But I think it might end up being like I at this point I've decided I think I do like Blade Runner 2049 more than the original. And I think I'm probably gonna end up liking this one a little. Fucking fantastic! I cannot recommend it enough. And
I
of
feel
course
like
the music is good.
I feel like I came out of Blade Runner, the new one, thinking that it was better than the old one, but
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's understandable.
and it's not because I think the original one is bad, the same way that I don't enjoy the original Suspiria, but the new Blade Runner was just so fucking good.
Yeah, it was really fucking good. Like, damn. But yeah, and again, Thom Yorke did the score, and it's really, really good, and it sounds good, and it empowers all of the scenes that it's in. I wasn't expecting anything not that on that, because we got some of the music before the movie came out, and it was like, wow, this is really, really fucking good. I can't wait to see this in the movie. I'm sure it empowers the scenes really, really well, and it does. Good
Alright.
work. You did a good job.
I guess the word of the day is empower.
Empowerment.
Power.
This is an empowering movie. A fucked up empowering movie, and kind of empowers in weird fucked up ways, but this is a very empowering movie. Absolutely. Good. Suspiria, new Suspiria, good. 10 out of 10. Fucking loved it. A lot of people had problems with it. I think if I were to say I had one problem with it, the final scene, which is a bombastic, fantastic scene, uses a lot of CGI blood, and I always hate CGI blood. I always think it kind of looks bad, because, like, especially, like, there's one very specific point where the CGI blood very much looks like they put, like, an Instagram filter over it, and it doesn't look like it's really there at all. Where most of it did okay looking like that. But
I feel like if you can ever notice, especially for something like that seems as simple as blood, it feels like if you notice that it's CGI, then they're failed already. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That was like the one bad thing. It was like they used a little bit of CGI blood, and it's a little weird to me that they made that choice to do that in CGI when they did everything else practical. Well, at least like mostly practical. They did that good combination of practical and CGI.
There's
and
some editor
everything else
somewhere
looked
saying needs more blood.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that in their defense, that scene absolutely did need more blood. That was the most colorful scene of the movie, and it was all in red. So, you know.
Fair enough. Do you have something else that is not something you both watched?
No. I think that's it.
Okay, then you're muted, Dalsson.
Uh-oh.
Oh, my mistake. Not that I can think of, no.
Okay, then I'm gonna move on to Glass before we do the next thing. Before you talk about that stuff. Glass. This is a movie that also has, like, some pretty mixed feelings going into it. I actually really liked it.
Okay.
I thought that the message was really interesting in a way that was unexpected for me. So, there's a lot of talk about superhero fatigue and, like, what superheroes are and the culture around superheroes in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this movie did sort of an interesting defense on superhero movies in a way that I really wouldn't expect someone like M. Night Shyamalan to, like, do. You know what I mean? His central argument of this movie was that superheroes are not bad. They reflect what the best aspects of humans.
Mm-hmm.
In that, like, yes, certain things are extraordinary and, like, characters do things that are impossible and stuff for the most part, but all of that is grounded to some extent in something that real people can do. One of the examples that they bring up, like, more than once in the movie is the first, like, classic superhero that we think of is Superman.
Sure.
Yeah.
His was the first, like, superhero in a book, in a comic book form. Superman wears, like, spandex tights and stuff, right? And that,
right.
from the outside, that could look goofy or whatever. but what they kind of bring up is that was very heavily inspired by like circus weightlifters in their like in the 1800s or whatever would wear colorful
like,
costumes like that. Yeah, strongmen, exactly. And that was kind of a throwback to that. And he was, you know, there were lots of other examples of like the animal archetype being a thing, you know, of humans possessing animal characteristics, and that was a common thing in both superhero comics and, you know, classic literature and just stories, like mythological stories. So his whole point was that like we should celebrate superheroes because it inspires people to be more extraordinary. Which I thought was really interesting coming from him, because I, like, you know, take or leave M. Night Shyamalan's, like, movie career, right? He is still kind of considered a big budget, you know, mainstream popular movie creator, right? That could be the kind of person to criticize superhero movies, but he seems kind of one of the few to really defend them in a way that a lot of people haven't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do know exactly what you mean. He seems like he definitely does like seem to have like, say what you will about M. Night Shyamalan and what his vision is, but he definitely does make movies that are for him. He makes movies based on his vision for movies, good or not.
Right. And I think that is also one of the kind of drawbacks of the movie a little bit. Glass, the character played by Samuel L. Jackson, is kind of depicted as sort of a comic book buff. And that his whole purpose of everything he's done has sort of been to encourage more superheroes to happen in real life. Because his idea, I guess, as displayed in this movie, is if I am a supervillain, I will encourage superheroes to exist. And that is his actual goal.
Yeah. I think that was, if I remember right, it's been
everyone
fucking years since I saw that. I'm pretty sure that was, like, established, that was the twist in, Unbreakable.
Right. So, and that's, so there's two problems here, kind of, that come out of this. The first is it makes Glass seem a little goofy. Not because he's intellectually inconsistent or anything, but because it's sort of a weird thing to fixate on. Whereas the kind of counter argument character to him, the like psychiatrist, is saying that being superheroes and acting like superheroes is a delusion. People are being delusional by doing this. And believing that they're greater than they are or something. So they're kind of juxtaposed, and hers seems more of a reasonable stance, where he kind of comes off a little bit goofy in it. So that could have been tightened up a little bit, but, you know.
Yeah. I feel like that's one of Shyamalan's biggest failings, is the way that he writes characters. He's not the best at it. Well, he's not the best at using those characters to get to the point that he's like, getting out the message that he's trying to, you know, do. Well, that makes his message seem like lesser because he's not so good at it.
That's the thing, though. It feels like certain characters were more effective at this than Glass was. And the problem is Glass is like the titular character, right? As much as both the character from Split and Unbreakable were also central figures in this movie, Glass was sort of the main character of this movie, and it was like, he would do things like one of his lines was like, this wasn't a showdown, this was a origin story, and that just came off as a really goofy line.
Yeah.
And then there was another one where like each movie had like its own character that is represented in this movie. And when they show up, he says something like, "Oh, the main characters are here," or something like that. So it like he could have done a better job of, or the writers or whoever was in charge of this decision, right? Could have done a better job at making his argument more serious.
Shyamalan was the only writer on this.
Okay, well I just don't know, so that's why I said that. But,
yeah, fair enough.
That being said, the movie was okay, so and this is the other major failing of the movie is Unbreakable came out in 2000.
Yeah.
And that was 18 years ago.
Yeah.
This movie seems to... There's a lot of stuff in this movie that you just have no idea, like, the motivations for certain characters and what's happening because that movie happened so long ago. So if you have never seen that movie, like I've never seen Unbreakable, or it has been so long since you've seen that movie that you don't remember it very well, it's gonna hold this movie back quite a bit, because it's like, I wanted to watch it too, but it's not streaming anywhere. Like, I would have to find a DVD somewhere. Like, it's not an easy thing to watch before this. So
yeah, I'm surprised that Redbox didn't do like a thing with it. I feel like they usually do, or maybe they stopped that. I don't know. I ain't used Redbox in fucking years.
Yeah,
I only use Redbox to look at hot takes on movies.
So, I think that is a drawback. Like, if you saw Split, you'll have, like, a good chunk of the Split side of it. But if you haven't seen Unbreakable, the character's not so... Like, it's not so much that you don't know what's happening at all, but it feels like you're missing a chunk of the movie by having not seen that one. Especially since Glass is represented, at least to some extent, in that movie as well.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Glass is like the he's definitely like an important character. Again, it's been fucking years since
he's like the mastermind of the events of that movie.
Essentially.
Like, because there's a train derailment, and that's what maybe gives him his powers or something. The other guy. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever the case is, there are 3 twists in the movie.
Okay. That
Not
sounds like
surprising
M.
at
Night
all.
Shyamalan.
One is a reasonable character thing that's like, okay, fine. The second one is actually a pretty surprising thing and like done pretty okay. And the third twist is like very predictable. And they foreshadowed it so much in the movie that like you saw it coming. So I don't know how you want to grade twists in the movie, but I thought the second one was okay. The third one was like, whatever. If anything, if it was anyone else, I'd probably just go, oh no, that wasn't a twist, that was a plot point. But but because it was M. Night Shyamalan and it was revealed in the last... It was like the last thing revealed in the movie, like, yeah, it seems like it was supposed to be the twist. And the first twist, I think, was probably the best, just because it sort of informed characters' actions before you realized what was happening. So I thought that was okay. If it was any other, like, I probably would not have even mentioned them as being twists if it was anyone else. But
yeah.
But you know, the movie is also pretty slow, but not in a bad way for me. It's not as bombastic and exciting as other like superhero movies, but it's more methodical and intellectual about breaking down what superheroes kind of are. So if you aren't open-minded about superhero movies, then you might not like it. Like if all you watched was like Iron Man and Doctor Strange and like the ones, the like origin ones of all of them, like, then, you know, maybe it's not that kind of movie, you know what I mean?
Right.
It seems more like an intellectual, thought out like argument of a movie rather than being just an excuse like for people beating each other up.
Yeah.
So I actually really liked it. I could see why it would be divisive. It does not pass the Jupiter ascending test. in that
Oh no.
in that like it holds up okay on its own, but it feels like if I had not seen Split or Unbreakable, it would be hard to watch because I'm like, they don't really go into why the Split guy is fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they do that in Split. They like you watch Split, you sort of don't need that in this film. This is like the Avengers of that set, but like the problem with like compared to Avengers was fine because the movies were within a reasonable amount of time of each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas Unbreakable was 18 years ago. So
And then like 2 years ago.
right. If it was Unbreakable 2 years later, Split 2 years later, Glass, it would have been fine. But I think that it being so far removed really holds this movie back. So
Right.
I almost feel like maybe they should have remade it. You know, that'd be weird, but I don't know. Anyway. Although that would be difficult because what's his name is older.
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis is like so much older now. So
Yeah.
and it's like I think they say it's 16 years later or something, but that's because this movie takes place like a month after Split. So anyway, I really did enjoy it. I would say if you've seen Split, I would say it's really worth watching.
Mhm.
Okay.
If you've not seen Split, it's probably not worth watching.
I see.
If you haven't seen Split, I would recommend watching Split.
Yeah.
And then decide whether or not you want to watch this one. If you have seen Split and enjoyed it, I would watch this one too. So that's where I'm at.
Okay.
It does not hold up on its own though.
Right.
I would say.
Okay.
And that's it for Glass.
All right.
Oh, also it did really well in the box office though.
Yeah, it was
well, that's good.
it was the best one. It wasn't going up against much except for that Dragon Ball Z movie, but you know.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was
Dragon
a
Ball Z movie got 4th in the box office.
I thought it got 3rd.
Did it?
It
I don't know.
did
Maybe it was
really
bumped.
good. Yeah.
Maybe it was bumped on the last day, but
Yeah.
but yeah, like surprisingly well that Dragon Ball movie. Like
Yeah.
I figured it like I knew it was kind of a bigger release, like it wasn't as limited as anime releases are, but like it
Mhm.
I did not expect anyone to see it. But
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
this movie though, Split was a surprise hit, and this one did slightly better than Split did. So
Yeah.
and I don't think it had a big budget either. Cuz it had like one location plus 2 rooms. Like not even full locations, there were 2 like rooms that were off-site. So you know, it probably didn't have a big budget either.
Yeah. But hey, so it maybe made back its stuff.
It probably
Hey,
I'm
Mike-
sure it did, yeah.
Oh yeah. And who knows? That bunny might put Shyamalan back in a fucking director's chair. Kind of fell off for a little while after he made some what are called in the business as stinkers.
And you know,
Yeah.
to some extent Samuel L. Jackson is always fun to watch no matter how good or bad his role is, so you know,
No,
there's
yeah,
that.
sure. Yeah.
There were scenes where it was like Samuel L. Jackson's falling over, like not explicitly saying this, but like, my bones.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Man's getting old.
There were
Man's
definitely
getting old.
scenes where I was like, oh. Anyway.
Oh, no. Right. Yeah. Do you want to talk about Parks and Rec for like 3 seconds?
Yeah. It's so Parks and Recreation.
It's a show that came out a million years ago, and everyone
It's
likes that we finally
Pretty,
watched.
yeah, it's pretty damn great.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Also,
I
I've
like-
seen it all.
Everyone's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sane's seen all of it.
I like Ron and the rest.
I
Ron
like
Swanson.
Andy Dwyer, the loser boyfriend, and the
Okay,
rest.
sure, yeah.
I literally
Let's
watched
be
this.
real, Chris Pratt
I don't
is
think
like,
you even have to like say that. That's everybody. Everybody loves Chris Pratt in that.
yeah, but he's almost the best part. He's a fantastic actor. He does
It's-
great in this.
It's so funny because he's such a season 1, but they
Yeah.
go, man, everybody loves him so much. that
They just
over
write
the
him more
course
into
of
the
the
show, yeah.
season, he becomes a bigger and bigger part of the show.
He's sort of like the opposite of that guy who was Pam's boyfriend in the first season of The Office. Like, they just slowly phase him out, and instead they just slowly phase this guy in.
Oh no, they have a character like that too, which is like the boyfriend character of the main character in season 1.
Oh boy.
That architect guy? That architect guy?
I know that guy.
Yeah,
I'm glad they phase him out. He's like the most boring character of the show.
They replace him with a better character who looks at the camera a lot.
Oh, good.
Oh, good. So something
Jim.
I like to draw a comparison to The Office, though, like, Leslie Knope is very similar to Michael Scott, obviously.
Yeah.
Except the story kind of, like, obviously it's an ensemble cast anyway, but the story really follows Leslie in the same way that the story followed Jim in The Office. The story follows Leslie Knope. So it's like getting to
I
see
felt like
that.
it followed Michael in the beginning and sort of moved over to Jim.
I feel like the way that Leslie's character is handled, though, they do a much better job of making her likable, even if she's crazy still.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely the thing. The biggest difference between her and Michael Scott is Michael Scott always tried to do good things. Like, really, he tried really, really hard to do good things, but ended up making everything worse and being a terrible person. Whereas Leslie tries to do neutral things, but ends up accidentally doing good things.
What? I would say she's always trying to do good things, like, ruins things in ways that are unexpected, but, you don't feel like she's a horrible person. You feel like she had good intentions.
You feel like she's selfish sometimes. But not
she's essentially she's like a little bit
that was
crazy,
a lot of Michael Scott's
paranoid.
Too, it's more so that he was selfish than just a dick.
But even then,
not even that he was selfish. He was unknowingly selfish and kind of an idiot and didn't really know like how to fix problems. So every time he would try to fix a problem, he would inevitably make it worse.
Right.
And even then, I think that Leslie, while she did selfish and messed up stuff sometimes, it was more forgivable. Like, you understood why she was like that. In a way that I felt like he was just kind of dumb.
Yeah, you could sympathize with her faster. Like, as The Office goes on, you start to sympathize and love every character in it. But Leslie, right off the bat, you like her as a character. Yeah. As opposed to Michael, where it's like, oh, this is a funny comic relief character. Leslie's like, oh, I want to see where this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like Aubrey Plaza in it as well.
Oh yeah, Aubrey Plaza is surprised. I usually don't like Aubrey Plaza, but I do really like her in this. I think I only don't like her because of that one movie she was in that wasn't her fault that she was bad in, now that I think about it, and the rest of the director's movies.
I think that the only role that she's had that's better than this one is her role in Legion. Her role in Legion is so fucking off the charts good.
Yeah.
I think we watched the first season of Legion together.
We did see that part of it, at least. She was in the hospital, right?
She was the bad guy, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I say basically because things change a little bit in season 2, but we should watch season 2.
Change a little bit in that entire fucking show all the time.
Well, I mean,
I really liked Legion.
I mean, it feels like in season 1 they wrote a different character and then cast a weird cast for that character. Where season 2 they write forward why it's her, kind of. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, because in season 1 they wrote it for a male and then just had cast her for the male character.
She did really good. Yeah.
Season 2, she is a female. Like, they from going forward, they talk about how, not talk about, but like there are aspects of that character that could only be a female character at that point going forward in season 2, in a way that it wasn't the case in season 1. So, but yes, Legion is so fucking
that's
good.
The character that was written initially as a male character, but they liked her audition for it or something, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now I know who you're talking about.
And Aubrey Plaza, they increase her role in Parks and Rec as well as Andy Dwyer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As time goes on.
That. Yeah.
Are they dating yet? in season 2?
not in the one
No,
that
but
we've
it's getting there.
It's
Okay.
pretty obvious that that's what it's.
Yeah. It's gearing up for that. Yeah. Yeah, so far so good. We'll talk about it more when we see more. We
really.
haven't seen very much.
It is pretty good. I enjoy it a lot.
It's probably
yeah,
one of my
agreed.
favorite sitcoms, to be honest. I like it better
Yeah.
than what I've seen of The Office.
I think so far I might like The Office better.
But at
But
the
yeah,
same time,
we
I've
haven't seen
all
very
of-
much of
Yeah,
it.
I've seen all of The Office.
Yeah.
I haven't seen all of Parks and Rec.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that Parks and Rec does get better over time as well. Especially since
Yeah.
all of the characters that I would say are main characters haven't even been introduced yet.
Oh,
Leslie
I
Knope's
see.
main boyfriend character through most of the series hasn't even shown
Louis
up yet.
C.K.
No,
No.
God.
And then there's
No.
also the other character who's played by probably the most famous guy on the whole show. I can't remember his name right now.
Mhm.
Louis C.K.
No, it's not Louis C.K.
Okay.
Whatever. I can look it up, but there's kind of no point.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, that's really good.
All right.
But yeah, that's about it for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not much more to say on that, especially because we haven't seen all of it.
Yeah, and not only just like that, that's about all we've seen and done this week.
Rob Lowe.
Rob Lowe. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Rob Lowe is like a funny character that they add in later on to replace that architect guy.
I see.
Oh, good.
They shuffle characters around a little bit over time. There are actually a lot of characters who start out in this show and then leave, and then other characters who like they introduce and become some of the best characters. So yeah.
You know, it's funny. We've only watched what 2.5 seasons, 1.5 seasons though,
1.5 seasons.
One
We're
and a half
in the middle of
seasons, yeah.
season 2.
and I'm pretty sure I've seen every single Ron Swanson meme that I've ever seen as a picture in the video already.
Not yet.
Oh yeah, we've been playing a lot of There's the Meme with this.
Not yet.
Yeah.
There's
Always
some
fun.
really good stuff in that later
Yeah.
half of that show
Good.
with Ron.
Oh, good.
Ron Swanson continues to be great, but also gets better over
Mhm.
time.
Boy.
Well, my impression of
good.
him, because I'd seen the fucking memes all over the place for years and years.
Those memes
So-
really paint a good picture of him.
They sort of do, right? But he's got more depth to his character than that, and I didn't think he would. So I'm enjoying that.
Yeah.
And they do have character development
like-
with him too. So
He's like
Yeah.
a good guy, you know? He's not
Yeah.
he's not just beer and steak and potatoes and flex. He's
He
also
kind of
kind
is,
of a
though.
good dude. He is, yeah, but I don't know.
Also,
it's hard to-
I love the premise.
He's like a character.
So the premise of his character at the very beginning is that he's working inside the government because he thinks the government is wasteful. So he's working in the government to make the government more wasteful because that's
Yeah,
what
he's
he thinks the
essentially
government
like
is.
the Turbo and Cap man.
It's really funny.
Yeah.
that is pretty funny.
But yeah, what I
like,
think Dalsson was
if
saying
he
about
hadn't
him is
gone
like,
into the government out of spite, he'd probably be living in the fucking cabin in the wilderness.
yeah. The thing Dalsson is saying is that Dalsson expected him to be a sort of two-dimensional character who was an archetype and that's it. But he
Mhm.
found that this character is a little bit deeper and has growth.
Yeah, like there's an episode where he and Leslie fight over some stupid feminist award, and then he's like, "Okay, no, Leslie, you actually deserve it," you know, and because
Yeah.
he can see that she's actually kind of torn up about not getting it. For example,
Yeah. I feel
Yeah,
like
because they gave it to him specifically because it was a award
There
for
was some
females
dumb
that they gave to a
political shit,
man.
yeah.
I feel like this is not something you would assume from the outside, but I don't think that he would have had the traction in memes and stuff that he has had without being a more deep character than he looks like
Oh,
on the
yeah.
surface.
Completely
So-
agree.
So from the
It
outside,
makes
you
sense
might,
when you think about it.
yeah, from the outside, it might seem like, oh, this is just Steaks and Potato Man. But in the show, I don't think people would have latched onto him the way that they did if it wasn't for that being like the superficial aspect of his character, and that's it, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So But I think you grow to love all of the characters in a way
I'm
that,
sure, yeah.
like,
This is the same guy that
Aziz-
wrote The Office, right?
I don't know.
It's one of the same guys. It's one
Okay.
of the creators and one of the writers worked together to make this one.
I see.
The guy who did The Good Place and one of the creators of The Office.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I feel like Aziz Ansari's character, also, like, starts out kind of like, do I like this guy? I don't think I do.
Yeah,
And
he's
then
the
over time
Michael
he gets-
Scott of the show in that he does... He tries to
think
do
he's
good
more
things,
like
but does bad things.
He's more like a
I don't know that
not-
he tries to do good things.
Ryan from
Oh, yeah.
from
where
The
he-
Office.
Yeah, where he's just kind of a
does
dick.
bad things, and he's a dick all the time. But it's funny because it clashes with everybody else. Like they're a dick by
Yeah.
accident, but he's just straight up a dick.
Well, the difference between him and Ryan is Ryan is sort of a sociopath, whereas he has feelings but doesn't know what to do with them.
I
Yeah,
think
fair
that he
enough.
doesn't do... I don't think it's that he's a dick, per se. I think it's more that he's selfish.
Yeah.
Right.
But it
He
isn't...
acts like a dick.
But, like, him being selfish leads to other people being hurt, but his intention is not to hurt other people, it's to get what he wants. So,
Yeah.
but I
Like, it's
think
like
they play it well, I think. So,
Yeah, it's like this man, he still has feelings with his wife, who he really only married because she needed a pass to get into America. He still has feelings for her, and he tries to get her to go back and live with him by suing her for fucking alimony payments. And it's like, so it's like you understand it, you feel a little bit sorry for him for like what he's going for, and then he does that, and it's like, oh no.
Do you know what's funny?
Oh no.
So
What?
I looked on Netflix, because I've been watching that stuff on Netflix too, and I saw what episode you guys were on, and from the title I knew exactly what episode that was.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
right.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Parks and Rec. Definitely a big
Parks and Rec.
recommendation.
Yeah, for
Should we
sure.
take a break?
Yeah.
I think so. I need to get up and stretch.
Yeah.
All
same.
right, so why don't we do 8 minutes, so we'll be back at 5:10.
Perfect.
Sounds good to me.
All right. 5:10. We will be back in a little bit.
Okay.
And we're back.
Welcome.
So, for the second half of the show, we're going to talk about games and movie news.
The one movie news.
There's not much.
It's like two. Let's do those first and just get them out of the way.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
So the movie news, the one movie news that is actually, like, I suppose could be considered news, because we talked about the Mission Impossible thing last week, is that, there's going to be a new Ghostbusters movie. They're making a new one with the original cast this time. Stop.
Gee.
Fucking stop.
Why?
You know
The
what's
last
weird?
one did bad.
You know
is
what's
why.
weird about this idea?
Mhm.
What?
Like, so their principal argument for why the last movie did poorly is, like, this is how they wanted to spin it, right? Is that
Okay.
people were being sexist against the women in it, right?
Yeah. And that was essentially, as time told, that was a legitimate marketing ploy.
Right.
Uh-huh. Like leaked emails
So-
and shit saying, okay, make up some new sexist shit that they did.
Yeah,
today."
or specifically say that people have been saying this, go on to Letterman and talk about how they've been saying this or something. It was
Well,
just dead ass. 100%.
Yeah, I don't really want to go into it, but if their argument was that people didn't see that because they were being sexist, so why would you now make the same one but male remake this time? Thus, like, giving what, like, if there really were sexists, right, who hated this movie because they were sexist, then why now, after you called all of those people sexist, are you giving them what they wanted?
Yeah,
What's even worse is when this one has the same shit about it that the last one did, they won't have that to fall back on.
Or
Yeah.
Or maybe even worse, like, if it is a well-written, really good movie, then they go, aha, they were just being sexist last time, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I don't get...
Well, here's the thing. From a corporate standpoint, the sexist thing was a marketing scam. And pretty much what everyone learned from that is that if you attack the fan base, which that was their attempt, is like they sort of preemptively assumed that the fan base wouldn't want like female Ghostbusters, so they used that as like their thing, and they actively like going into it, they started attacking the fan base, and what essentially the big takeaway they got from that, and what everyone's told Sony is, you can't attack the fan base because they're the people who are going to be making you the money. And so instead, what they're going to do is they're going to play to the fan base. But my take on it is there was a point where you should have stopped, and that was before you made Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, okay.
I see, okay. I don't think that it is a terrible idea to remake Ghostbusters. But I feel like right now is a bad time because that other one happened too recently.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I would say put it on cold storage for like another 5 years, 10 years, and then take another crack at it. But like, I feel like right now the Ghostbusters license is damaged.
Yeah.
So, that being said, I thought the movie wasn't terrible. I laughed at parts of it, and there are still things that I remember about it being funny. I don't think it was necessarily a well thought out or good movie. Especially compared to the original one, but at the same time, you know, I'm not a wholly cut and cloth against remakes. I just think that that was a bad one, and now it's too soon for a new one. So, I don't know.
You can't remake the same movie twice in, like, what, 2 years? 1 year?
Yeah, when was that movie? I feel like it's been, like, 3 or 4 years now, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, this isn't going to be the first case of that. Remember when they did the Ben Affleck Batman, like, 2 years after Dark Knight?
Yeah, but I think that's different. Because it's not...
It's not the same story.
Yeah, it's not the same story. They weren't just making the same story with different characters.
Oh, this one is going to be a Ghostbusters 3.
Oh, well...
No.
Maybe that's
better, it's still kind of... it's still gonna be
but the Ghostbusters 3 has been damaged by the fact that they did a remake.
And that remake was in 2016, by the way.
Okay, so it was like
it was 2 years. It was 2, yeah. Oh yeah, three now.
And this movie is coming out in 2020.
So I don't know, like
it's still set for 2020.
So that really begs the question then, like, did that movie ever is that now out of canon?
I think that's the like that's essentially the intent, I suppose.
Or is it
like remember Sony set up like a whole like group of studios, right? Based on this movie. They had like before the movie like came up, it had a thing that was created by the Ghost Core studio. They were going to make a whole cinematic universe out of that movie, and it fucking bombed. So they had to scrap like an entire goddamn studio, firing like a couple hundred people.
What I hate about the cinematic universe shit is, like, you have to first make a good movie.
Yeah.
Make a good movie first.
And that's the thing. Before fucking oh, what's his name? Not Paul Feig, the fucking the Marvel guy. The thing that the Marvel guy did is Kevin Feige, thank you. Is he set out to make a cinematic universe like all of these other guys were doing, and legitimately nobody thought that was going to work. They gave him money for like one movie, and everyone before Kevin Feige did it and did it successfully were essentially like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. But if Hollywood smells money, even if it's the dumbest shit they've ever heard, they're gonna chase that fucking smell.
Well, I don't feel like it was a dumb idea, because what they did with the Marvel movies was they made a Iron Man movie, and they made a Hulk movie, and it's like, you can connect the movies. Actually, I really liked that one, but you can connect the movies. Like, the thing about a cinematic universe is the only thing is they exist in the same universe. So just make good movies and have them be sort of connected. later on, if you have a collection of good movies, then you can make the Avengers. But it's not like I feel like the cinematic universe thing didn't really start until Avengers. You know what I mean?
It was kind of organic. Yeah. I mean, like, it was his intent from the beginning, but it felt organic to audiences.
Yeah.
Even if, like, if it was his intent for it to be a thing, a possibility down the line, then cool. I don't think he sat there and wrote 6 scripts and then started making them. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Oh no, he didn't write scripts, but he was making he was producing multiple movies like in tandem.
right, but I think
Like,
that's...
and
I
that
still
was his
think-
specific like goal to get to the Avengers. Like I think he got Joss Whedon around the time that Iron Man came out to start production on the Avengers.
I still think it's different than the way that Warner Brothers have tried to.
Oh yeah, and the
Attempted,
thing
though.
is like they're all trying to catch up to Marvel.
Yeah.
Whereas, like,
So,
you know, these guys sort of took their time with it, and like to be able to get to that point where they make all that fucking money.
Right.
And Hollywood wants to make money fast. Hollywood is fucking dumb and will do dumb fucking bullshit. This is a proven fact that they have continued to prove for almost 100 years now. I think actually 100 years now. It's been a whole century of Hollywood being dumb and doing dumb shit to chase that fucking buck. Every once in a while it works, but most of the time it does not. Except that little period in the 60s where they started giving like creatives money to make very writer-director focused films because of the that's what the French were doing, and people are starting to get pissed at the studio system. And now people are really starting, like, fucking audiences are starting to get pissed at the studio system. And
Although there was the
Common audiences.
there was the Frankenstein, like, classic horror movie monster cinematic universe.
The Universal
worked out
Monster,
fine.
I think that's what it's called.
I think they're still trying to do that.
No,
They've
the
been
original
on and
ones.
off about it. Oh, yeah, the original set, yeah. And that was dead ass the first cinematic universe. And then the Godzilla ones where Toho did like a bunch of that shit that was following that, and they didn't do anything like that for years because they're like, there's no guarantee that shit's gonna make money. That's too much of a fucking gamble.
See, the thing is, like, I think that you can make movies, a slew of movies that are connected, and have that work. But you have to start by making good movies. The reason why, that Universal Dark Cinematic Universe died was because they started off with a bad movie. You don't start out with The Mummy, The Mummy. You know?
Yeah, seriously.
Also, why would you start with The Mummy?
Yeah.
Why would you even
feel
put
like
the Mummy in there?
I feel like the big problem is Hollywood. The reason that they make dumb decisions is because Hollywood executives don't care about quality. They see Hollywood as a business. They care about making a movie that will play to the biggest possible audience and that will please the most crowds, when a lot of the times it's give this crazy guy money who you have no idea what the fuck he's doing or how his goddamn brain works, and he'll go off and he'll make good shit and make you fucking money because his shit is good. And they don't fucking get that. It was
but
like,
I mean, I feel like Marvel should be the example of what to do, because it's not like all of Marvel's. In fact, I would say a couple of them were given to like those directors that you didn't know what they would do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, they were given to straightforward directors, you know, and there is a super ton of creative control on top of it. So it's like, but the thing about the Marvel movies is they all had at least decent scripts. You know, like at no point did you come out of a Marvel movie saying, "Man, the writing was really terrible." You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, focus on the writing. You know, if you want to make money, that is what you need to do. And I don't get how they don't see it.
Yeah, especially for like big blockbuster movies. You know, it's like there were some times where it's like in a movie, sometimes writing isn't the big thing. You watch a movie like I keep mentioning this movie. I think I mentioned it earlier in the podcast. If you watch a movie like Under the Skin, it's like there are 3 lines of dialogue and all of them could have been removed, and it's a great movie. But like these
writing
superhero
is more
movies,
than dialogue.
Oh yeah. But with these superhero movies, it's like how the scripts go is a lot of how the movie goes. You know, there are of course there is of course a lot of like director influence on how the script is acted and how all of the writing sort of flows into it and what to change, what to take out, and more stuff to put in because
and ultimately how
are constantly
being
being edited through this stuff. But yeah, and how ultimately it'll look. But if you start out with a good script, you're on the path to some good shit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't know. That's what I don't get. It's because they like want to make these big movies and then they put their cousin in charge. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. They put their or they put some guy they put in charge who's you know, a young buck and really really wants to get into Hollywood and it's been his dream, so he'll do whatever we fucking say.
What Marvel keeps doing is, you know, they take someone who is made one or two good movies, maybe indie films, maybe low budget films, took that talent and then made a big movie with them. Like, it's not like, it's not even like they're taking a risk on someone you've never heard of. You've heard of some of these people, they've just mostly done low budget stuff. Like that's not crazy.
With Ryan Coogler, Ryan Coogler is like the writer and director of Black Panther. It's like this man had made one big budget movie before, and that was Creed, which was possibly the best Rocky movie.
Right.
And then they're like, all right, give this man his own whole ass movie. They let Taika Waititi do a lot of his own stuff, even though they sort of saddled him with two Marvel TM writers.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, they do eventually sort of give that is one of the things that Disney has been very good at, picking talent from the indie scene and sort of like giving them their big Hollywood break that they've always wanted.
But this is why it's like infuriating that nobody else seems to be doing this. Yeah. It's because Marvel, if you look at it, what Marvel is doing is super safe. They're not taking any risks. They're taking people who are proven to be doing good stuff and putting them on a project. Now, granted, sometimes they'll drop people, like for Ant-Man, they went through like 3 directors, but the final product was pretty good. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the amount of, even if a Hollywood studio does think something like that is a risk, the amount of money you have to throw at them is chump change in the end for a big studio like Universal or Disney. Like probably doesn't even bat an eyelash at giving somebody $2 million. I don't know, $2 billion.
They're a couple of $100 million. It's big Marvel movies are a couple $100 million.
Sure,
but they make like $2 billion.
They're up to like $1 million.
Bat an eyelash at
$2 million
throwing
movies.
$2 billion at this guy who's made one good movie. Like, oh, he failed. Shit. Oh well. Well, somebody write that down in the books and never think about it again.
No, it's more like to Disney, it is more damaging to or to Marvel, I guess, in this case.
It's more damaging to release a bad movie.
Right. So they'll like sit there and see a cut of Ant-Man and not like it. And then go, we're changing the director. You know, and you know, you can say that maybe they're being controlling or whatever, but it's been working. So I don't know.
And that's the thing. Even if you compare Marvel to Disney's other cinematic universe, the Star Wars cinematic universe, what they did when they replaced Edgar Wright with that, because the reason they replaced Edgar Wright was because he didn't want to have anything to do with. He wanted his Ant-Man film to be a standalone movie. He doesn't like the idea of the cinematic universe. With fucking the Lego movie guys, when they made Solo, right? They had made the whole fucking movie, and Lawrence Kasdan hated it. And he thought, oh, these guys are making a fucking joke out of my script, even though it's a joke? Fuck you. And then they got Ron Howard, completely remade the entire movie, whereas they didn't do that with Edgar Wright's. With Edgar Wright's, they took pieces of what was already done and just did reshoots, rather than reshooting the whole fucking thing and then taking a huge loss on it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, Kevin Feige, in particular, is really good at this shit. He has a surprisingly, like, you would think that he had been through all of this bullshit before. He's the one guy who knows what the fuck he's doing, and he is the guy who started it.
Right.
Kevin Feige, for as much shit as you will give him, and I will give him, believe you me, he's got his fucking shit down from a business perspective.
I don't know. I
He knows
fucking
what's
love
up.
him.
Yeah.
I feel like, to me, and this is as a comic book and superhero fan first. Like before I'm a like film fan, I am a superhero comic book fan. I feel like he's been doing consistent justice to the source material in a way that I wouldn't trust anyone else at this point. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I would rather have good superhero movies, even if sometimes they turn out formulaic or not crazy, right? Than having potential for extremes, right? So I don't know. Like I understand why some people are getting tired of superhero films, and there's like there are legitimate arguments. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like from my perspective, this is the lesser of two evils. So
yeah.
But they're not going to do anything crazy in film as a genre or as a
as a medium.
Medium. So
but I mean, you know, it could be worse. Thankfully, we do every year have movies that are coming out, shit like Roma, that are these wonderful films that are incredibly, very, very like directorially focused, and they're personal, and they are doing a lot for film. They're pushing the medium forward, and you got like in all genres, you got crazy shit like fucking Annihilation in sci-fi. You got Suspiria in horror. You have fucking like. Oh, what is it? Haunting of Hill House in horror too is like a television show. Like, and even in superhero movies, I would say that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was definitely a push forward for the entire medium of animation. Like that again, that may be my favorite superhero movie ever. It was really good. I fucking love Spider-Verse.
Yeah, and I would not fault anyone for having that as their favorite. So,
and you know what the craziest thing I've been thinking about? This is a little bit outside of it. But speaking of like directors, with the Oscar race, Yorgos Lanthimos may be nominated for an Oscar this year, and that's fucking insane to me. Crazy, the Lobster Man who did the Lobster Dogtooth and Killing of a Sacred Deer might get a fucking Oscar. This is not the kind of man who goes in for that shit. But, you know, I'm not gonna complain. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So it looks like Dalsson might have tried to inhale beer there or something.
I did the exact same thing with tea like 3 seconds ago, man. It's cool.
Yeah, so I like okay. We should move on. We've been on this one subject for 20 minutes, so
yeah. Well, we went into the cinematic universes thing.
I was about to start talking about something else too, but I was like, you know what?
Oh, no.
It's time to move on.
So the next piece of news is sort of just like a couple of announcements. The Razzie Awards got announced, and it's a surprisingly close race this year. Usually it's someone just fucking sweeps the Razzies. But this year, it's a 3-way tie between Gotti, my personal worst fucking movie of the year that I feel is so bad you gotta see it, Holmes and Watson, and the Happy Time Murders. 2 other movies that got... I know Holmes and Watson at one point had a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Happy Time Murders at the time that it came out was reviewed as being, quote, worse than Slender. And also, leading the pack just behind them is Death of a Nation, the terrible fucking documentary that came out this year. Which is sad, because there were a lot of really good documentaries that came out this year, like the Mr. Rogers one and Wild Wild Country, which are some of the best documentaries I've ever seen. Yeah.
I did kind of like Happy Time Murders. These other ones just seem especially bad, whereas Happy Time Murders I don't think was like... I think it was bad for different reasons. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to some gaming news then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all there's to say about that.
I'm trying to figure out how far back this is. Okay, this support small streamers thing, Dalsson, do you know what this is?
No.
You posted it forever ago.
Yes, okay. They had a hashtag on it, but Twitch.tv, which I think is really good now. To their homepage, they've added a section for small streamers that you might enjoy. So for content that you've checked out in the past, it'll show you streamers that are like 50 viewers and under. And I've even seen streamers with like 2 or 3 people on that homepage display. So that's really cool. I think it'll help out a lot of small streamers.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
I completely agree. I'm really happy.
Yeah,
with that.
it's really nice that Twitch is kind of promoting, because Twitch's homepage has always just been a fest of 10,000 plus viewers.
Well,
in my
because
opinion,
it makes sense to show the biggest streams,
sure.
but it also makes sense for the overall health of their platform to also lift up the low end as well. So this
Yeah,
makes perfect
exactly.
sense from their perspective, I think.
It's been a long time coming. I think they've been intending to do like a lot of stuff for smaller streamers this year, but this is the first like really move we've seen on it. Really,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
tagging thing is supposed to help too, but I don't think it really has.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see as far as that is concerned.
All right, Thel. I am assuming you know the most about this Starbreeze raid,
Okay.
right?
So, while we were on break, we missed a very, very big piece of news.
Oh, this was last Wednesday.
Was it? I could have sworn
This
that this was
came
while we were
out-
on break.
Yeah, this came out Wednesday
Oh, okay. Weird. Anyway, so
or Friday.
Friday.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, Starbreeze is the parent company for Overkill, which is the Payday 2 company. Recently, Overkill released a game called Overkill's The Walking Dead, so as not to confuse anyone with the other multitude of Walking Dead games.
Versus Telltale's The Walking Dead.
Yeah, versus Telltale's The Walking Dead. And it was kind of a gigantic bomb and didn't make any money. And that was not very good for Overkill. It was looking like they might, Starbreeze might go bankrupt. And then this happened. So long story short, Starbreeze, which I'm pretty sure is a Swedish company,
Was
one of
raided
its
by
members-
Swedish police.
yeah, was raided by Swedish police because one of its members was engaging in insider trading.
Oh my god.
And he was arrested for it. So that hurt
What
Starbreeze's
is
images.
insider trading?
So insider trading is essentially like a person from the inside of the company, basically, will give like certain people like information about how the company is going, where the company is going, and all of this stuff to help them decide how to spend money in the stock market.
So one of the things you can do, one example of that is if you hear that they're going to release an awful video game, you can short sell a stock, which means you sell a stock before you purchase it. So if you sell a stock, that's called a short sale stock, then when the game comes out and it hurts their stock price and their stock goes down, you can repurchase those stock and make money on it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
That just sounds like a bad system, though.
what is?
Why would you
Short
be able
selling.
to sell something you don't own?
You sell, it's like, you have like vouchers of negative stock.
Yeah.
It's like owning negative stock in something. The thing is, like, things can fluctuate, so what could happen is you could buy something and it goes up, and then you have to sell it at a loss. So or purchase the shares at a loss. So you can do the opposite as well. But the only thing is, like, you can sell something before you can actually repurchase it. But that's how you actually make money when you don't already own stock, when you expect a bad thing to happen. The alternative would be, like, they're about to release a really good game, and all their internals are saying it's going to be big. Then you can purchase a bunch of stock. The game comes out, their prices go up, and then you sell the stock for a profit. Does that make sense?
Are you're just not allowed to purchase stock in a company that you work for?
No, that's not necessarily the case.
You're not allowed to give people insider information about the company.
But
Like,
if
you're
you
not-
have that
you-
insider information
no.
and use it,
If you know that insider information, you can also be prosecuted for it. So it's not
but
just
then how
What?
would it be possible to buy stock in a company that you work for? You would have a level of insider information.
not
no matter what.
necessarily. You could be the janitor.
Yeah, sure.
Like, and the problem with that, okay, so yes and no, there are certain ways you can purchase stock when you would know.
Yeah.
Like, there are things where everyone on the board is required to purchase an X amount of shares. There's ways, so it's not as simple as saying you can't buy stocks if you are in that company. You can't manipulate stock. Like, you can't manipulate personal stock based on knowledge, but you can buy and sell stock.
That's all that the stock market is.
No, is
manipulating stock based on the knowledge that you have.
Well, it's
so, like,
not really.
I don't know. I understand why it's like. I understand why it's bad. I just don't understand how you can get around it, because there's no way you can have that information and then not use it to inform your purchase.
Yeah, you can
if you intentionally tried not to use it.
Okay, here's an example of a way that you could purchase stock. Is if you put in your business plan that you are purchasing X amount of stock back from the market, regardless of how the company is doing this year.
Yeah.
Then 6 months to a year later, you could purchase the stock, and you could still potentially make a profit based on what happened that year, but it doesn't matter because you have a paper record saying, we intend to do this in this amount of time. So there are ways to buy and sell stock that are removed from your personal knowledge, but there are specific rules about it. And one of the rules is you can't purchase a bunch of stock when you know something bad is going to happen, or sell a bunch of stock when you know something bad is going to happen. So,
and that's one of the things. But this man was dead ass selling information that was essentially secret.
I see. So he wasn't just using it to inform his own decisions. He was selling it to other stock market speculators.
Yeah. That was the insider trading part. He was he was informing other people of what they were going to do. That's why he was arrested.
Yeah, I mean, you could be sued, or you could get in trouble for either way. Giving away information that would inform their decisions, or using that information yourself. So. It's just there are very, very specific rules about how you can deal with stock, so that's how you could get in trouble for it yourself. I remember Martha Stewart got in trouble for that a few years ago. I think she even did a short time in prison for it. But whatever the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this guy got in trouble for that. So that's like continued bad news for Starbreeze Studios, which. I think they do own some other stuff, but the big thing is Payday. So, this one's okay. So this is not a big story, but this is just funny.
It's kind of fucking hilarious.
Oh no!
Overwatch tournament. So during a live victory ceremony for an Overwatch tournament, the trophy broke. On stage, like in front of everyone.
No!
It's like they start to pick it up, and then the handle breaks off, and even the other handle starts to break off.
A metaphor for Blizzard games.
Yeah.
So that's funny.
Yeah.
This is not big news. It's just funny.
No. Yeah, essentially.
Okay. Speaking of lawsuits. Remember that Westworld mobile game?
Oh,
yes.
God.
So they were being sued by Bethesda for basically just stealing Fallout Shelter. Almost full cloth and just reskinning it. Well, it is official that game has been removed from the App Store. There's been no statements about what's happening, but it is now not on the App Store. So you didn't get your chance to get a ripped-off clone of Fallout Shelter. It's too late now. I'm sure you can find the APK somewhere.
Yeah, if you want. You want that.
Why would you? But,
whatever.
Hey, maybe you want to play
Fallout Shelter,
but with a Westworld mod on it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's your thing. Are you ready for the rumor mill?
Yay!
Remember Electronic Arts?
Yeah.
I wish that was a thing you could say as though they had died.
Do you remember that? Anyway, so they canceled.
Still alive.
There's a rumor going around that they canceled the other only Star Wars property that they had left, that open world title. That a ways back, they canceled one Star Wars property that was supposed to be like a story-based linear campaign, and they canceled it because there was not enough like reoccurring revenue in that.
Right.
Is what their argument was. They said at the time, though, that there's this other open-world Star Wars game that they're working on, and they're going to reuse a bunch of the assets they've used on that game. There's a rumor now that that game is also canceled now.
I see.
Which would sound like the only thing left is Battlefront, if they're even doing that again.
Yeah, because if I remember right, Disney was fucking pissed.
Yeah.
Bob Iger calls himself. Yeah, I don't know. Like,
Bob Iger told them about how the mouse is holding his fucking kids hostage.
So yeah, it was originally like posted from Kotaku. So
yeah.
Yeah,
there was a rumor that it existed.
It was codenamed Orca. It was early in development, but would involve playing a scoundrel or bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so apparently they canceled it in favor of a smaller scale Star Wars project. So apparently there is still a Star Wars thing in the pipeline. It's just they got rid of the big one.
I see.
And then, yeah, they put out a statement basically saying they're continuing to work on Star Wars games.
Good.
We're fully committed to making more Star Wars games. We're very excited about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order from Respawn, and we'll share more about the new projects when the time is right. So apparently there's another thing from Respawn in the works. Respawn is the company who made Titanfall, I believe.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a better, you know...
I would rather have an open world Star Wars than a game made by Respawn, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's not that I think Respawn is a bad company, but their playbook has been like multiplayer competitive games, and that's not what I want out of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
But I could be wrong, who knows? We'll see.
I was about to say I'm glad they kept the license, but I'm not.
I want them to get rid of it. I want them to sell it to someone who will use it better.
Yeah, me too.
Or just don't do an exclusive license and make anybody able to do it. Or have Disney manage it. Like, why not? Or hell,
Disney doesn't want to.
Or hell, there's a Marvel Games Studios. Just give it to Marvel, and Marvel can decide who can make Star Wars games. They seem to be doing fine with Marvel games.
Yeah, really.
Okay, Red Dead Redemption news. Not Dread. Red Dead Redemption.
Red Dead.
Okay, so this might take a little bit of explanation for anyone who doesn't know anything about Red Dead Redemption, namely the three of us.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So, in Red Dead Redemption 2, you are playing as outlaws. One of the antagonists of the game is the Pinkerton Investment Agency, or Investigation Agency or something. This was a real life thing in the Wild West, where called the Pinkertons, which were an investigation company, and they actually did hunt down outlaws in the Wild West.
Right.
Red Dead Redemption 2 used this stuff as like set dressing for their game, and actually the Pinkertons play a large role in hunting you down, and there's like several major scenes where they kill a bunch of you and your dudes and stuff. So this is like they're major characters in this game. Unfortunately, that company still exists, and now they are suing Rockstar Entertainment for the use of their historic logo.
Well, it says
historical logo.
It says Rockstar's parent company sues Pinkerton.
No,
that's what the title. The title
that
of the
is what the title says, but that's not right.
Rockstar's parent company sues Pinkerton.
Okay,
over
that's okay, fine, but that's not what it is. The Pinkertons are suing them for using it.
Yeah,
and Rockstar, or I guess Take-Two, is saying that they should be able to use the historical version of their logo because it's fair use because of its historical aspect of that time period.
Okay.
And
in other news, Destructoid still can't write a headline.
Yeah, I didn't even read the headline because this was more of me. I actually knew more about this story than this article.
When you
I put this in
started
here because
explaining it, like, it started to not make sense based on the headline that I read, and then I read the article while you were.
Right.
So, yeah.
So
strange.
So yeah, oh, actually, yeah, Take-Two is suing Pinkertons 2 now, I guess.
Oh, they're like counters.
Yeah, I guess they're countering. I don't know.
Okay.
Law is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what happened? Pinkerton sent a cease and desist letter. Take-Two is suing them.
Yeah.
I see.
Okay, so what? Whatever. I guess they're suing them because you. But how do you? But that doesn't make sense to me because fair use as a defense mechanism is not something you can sue someone else for. So I don't understand.
I think that they're suing them. I don't know how this is a argument for suing somebody, but they're suing them over trying to profit off of Red Dead Redemption 2 by suing Rockstar.
By sending them as well, no, because that doesn't make sense to me. Because if you you know what they said? I think what happened was they sent a cease and desist letter saying you have to stop using our logos and name, or you can give us money.
Right.
And I think that might be why they're suing them. I don't know.
I see.
Yeah.
But whatever the case, this might be really good for the health of the industry because if and fair use as an argument, because if they can win and force the courts to recognize that as precedent that you can use historical logos and stuff in as fair use, then it strengthens fair use as a law argument. So if Take-Two wins and doesn't settle, this could be good. If they settle, then it won't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and there's something about trademark law. I don't know.
Yeah,
feels like anybody can sue
law
anyone
stuff.
for whatever anymore. I don't know.
Pretty much, yeah.
Is this the 90s?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were only 20 years ago.
Fuck, dude, they sure were, huh?
I feel like the world hasn't stopped aging since the 90s.
I feel like the internet's helped with the world's aging.
I feel like the internet came out in the 90s, and I feel like we are still in the internet age that started in the 90s, so we're in the same period of time. Does that make sense?
I mean that's true, but the internet wasn't nearly as widespread as it is now.
Well, it was big enough to
it
was big enough to cause the .com crash, though. And I feel like that's a big whatever. Moving on. So Rocket League finally gets cross-platform support on the PS4.
Yeah. All right. Thank goodness.
Right now it is limited to custom games and matchmaking.
Oh, what's the difference then?
Wait. Yes, matchmaking and custom lobbies, but you can't party up with people on different systems.
Oh,
so
okay.
you can
matchmake it with it, but you can't get into a party and matchmake on the same team.
So if your cross-platform play box is checked in the gameplay tab, which it should be by default, then you will be match-made with anybody from either PC or console or anything. But if you want to play with PS4 people, the only way you can do it, like if you're on PC, the only way you can play with PS4 people is by creating a custom game, I guess.
Well, they're
unless
still
I'm
working
wrong,
on
which is
it,
possible.
I hope.
Also, it's technically in beta under Sony's crossplay initiative. The thing is, Sony was saying. So the question, it's been an open question that when Fortnite did this, are they going to do it with other companies? And the one that everyone was looking at was Rocket League. Because Rocket League has been barking up that tree for a while, even longer than Fortnite. It's just
Yeah.
Fortnite had the muscle to actually make it happen. So, it's really cool to see this happening, and hopefully this opens the door for more of this when appropriate.
Yeah.
Because Rocket League, like, you play, even if you play with mouse and keyboard versus a controller, you don't get any benefit the same way you would get from a shooter, so.
Here at Graveyard Media, we want to see gamers.
I'm sorry. You stopped there for half a second. Here at Graveyard Media, we want to see gamers. Show them to us. Bring them in.
I was trying to make an E3 speech on the fly, but those guys have writers for that.
So, Fallout 76, remember that game?
Oh boy, this one's fun. So,
God, I can't believe they made that many of them since Fallout 4.
I know.
So
72
this one
Fallouts.
is another bit of the rumor mill. This is based on the fact that EB Games is pulling all of its physical copies of Fallout 76 from its shelves. Not because of, like, the retailer pulling it. It's because they were asked by Bethesda to pull it. And people are thinking that this might just be because Fallout 76 may be going free to play.
Also, we should specify in Australia.
In Australia, yeah.
But in Australia brings a lot more to that story because they could be pulling it for any fucking dumb anti-video game law that Australia decided to make that day.
I mean, yeah, but so far they haven't really.
You're not allowed. The ghouls look like Aboriginals, and that's insensitive. So we're gonna need you to pull the game. Like anything, it could be literally anything in Australia.
I mean, yeah, but the Australian government probably would have made a statement.
And EB Games hasn't really said, and nobody knows why, is part of the confusion here.
Yeah.
And, but it is still being sold in New Zealand, which is weird. As well as everywhere else in the world, so if it is related to going free to play, then maybe it has to do with certain laws in Australia that, like, limit how long you can make something free to play or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows, but this may indicate it going free to play, but I would not count your chickens before they hatch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it for gaming news.
It being free and reduced price is probably good for the health of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's sold bad.
Yeah, it's sold poorly, and games like that, if they sell poorly, they don't have a huge player base, and if they don't have a huge player base, why not just play Fallout 4?
I feel like that game... Well, yeah, I don't know. I think that game would work better if it were free, honestly.
Yeah.
Not performance-wise. I need to be careful when I'm talking about Fallout 76. But I think that people would be more willing to let it pass on certain things if the initial investment wasn't there. And I think part of the problem with Fallout 76 is it takes a while to know whether or not you like it. Certainly it takes longer than an hour, or the duration of some of those betas, I think. So, I don't know. I like the game, but
I think I enjoy playing it, but I don't like it enough to play it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've been busy.
If I start playing it, I'm like, yeah, okay, I can get into this and play it for a good 5-6 hours, right? But if I look at it and say, do I want to play Fallout 76? The answer is probably, I'm just going to go play something else.
No, the real issue is you launch Steam and go, what do I want to play on Steam?
Yeah, let's be real. That's it, isn't it?
Like, honestly, when Fallout 76 first came out, I kept thinking about it and wanting to go back and playing it, especially when it was the beta and it was, like, limited time or whatever. But I was thinking about the game quite a bit initially. It's just that a bunch of other stuff... I've been really busy the last few months, and, like, that game takes a time investment. You have to, like, it's not worth it to play it for 20 minutes. You have to play it for, like, an hour or two. So when you're talking about a game like that, it's really difficult to sit down and be like, okay, it is time for Fallout. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I didn't play a ton of the other Fallouts either. So.
Yeah,
Right.
Whereas I definitely did.
Yeah.
Right.
I even played a lot of Fallout 4, and I think in the end, I'm not sure I really like that one. New Vegas is still my favorite, even though I haven't launched it in years.
Yeah, but
you know what?
retrospect.
It's okay. It's all gonna be okay.
We'll just play. We'll just play that other paradox, or not paradox.
Yeah, the Outer Rim.
Yeah, we'll play Outer Rim, and that'll be fine. Yeah. And maybe they'll fix some of the issues that we've had with Bethesda games in general, which is the engine. So,
yeah,
like the shooting might actually be a lot better in this because it's just better. But,
yeah.
Because Unreal Engine, I think, is what they're making it in, is good at shooting. Usually, unless you're Fortnite.
Yeah.
As opposed to the fucking Bethesda engine that hasn't been updated since Morrowind.
Yeah, I wonder what Starfield is even gonna be, you know?
What do you fucking think it's gonna be? It's gonna be in the creation engine.
No, I don't mean what engine it's in, because it's going to be in that engine. I already know that. Yeah. But I mean, what is it going to be? You know?
Yeah.
Also, they should just hire some modders to, like, fix some stuff up in their games. You remember that modder who made Oblivion faces look like not hot garbage?
Yeah.
Hire that guy to fix some of the Fallout's faces, man.
Yeah, seriously.
Or the engine's faces, because those are, like, they've been messed up forever.
Pay him more than he's getting paid as a modder.
Which is basically nothing, probably.
Yeah.
You know, Nexus Mods added this, like, point system thing?
It's nuts.
Like, there's some weird scheme about how you can, like, if every time you download a mod, they get points, and then you can trade points for goodies and presumably gift cards and stuff, or you can trade points to other mod creators. So it seems like there's some weird monetization thing going on at Nexus Mods that I have no idea what it's about, because I haven't modded anything since... I haven't modded anything through Nexus Mods in a while. Probably since Skyrim. Although I'm not sure. I might have modded Fallout 4 a little bit.
Last thing I downloaded from Nexus Mods was the mod that made Geralt run faster in The Witcher 1.
I see.
It might have been Stardew Valley mods. No, not Stardew Valley mods. Starbound mods.
Yeah. Because, like, Steam mod page has kind of been the big thing. Because, I mean, it just builds in the game like that. You don't even need to download a mod manager or nothing. You just go into the thing and you click the accept button.
It turns Steam into a mod manager. I think it works better for some game than others. Like, I think for Skyrim in particular, there's so much of a larger base outside of it that Nexus just makes more sense for it.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about something like Slay the Spire, which Dalson's been playing a lot of lately, I feel like that's easy to, like, in and out mods, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Would you, Dalsson, as someone who bought the Power Armor edition of Fallout 76, would you be upset if they switched to free-to-play?
Nope.
Yeah, me neither.
Might make me play it. I would be a little, I don't know. I bought the Power Armor edition for the helmet. That was the sole reason I purchased it. I wouldn't have bought it if not for the helmet. People who play the game free-to-play are not going to get the helmet, so my purchase had value in that I got something that other people aren't going to have.
So in your mind, you bought a $200 helmet, not a game. You bought a $200 helmet and got a game for free.
Yes, essentially.
Okay. You also bought my copy of it too, I think.
Did I? Oh, Jesus.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I think you did. But I did play it with you for a little while.
Yeah.
Basically, I played it with you as long as you were interested in it, because we both lost interest about the same time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Although I would be willing to go back to that game, because I did enjoy it, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's a time investment. And I'd rather invest my time in games that mean less to me, like Heroes of the Storm.
Exactly.
Apparently. Anyway, that's it this week. Does anyone have any announcements before we go? No?
Not an announcement, but the same thing I've been saying. I'm gonna have a Hollow Knight video out on Friday.
Yeah.
So, look out for that. That'll be on our YouTube channel if you're watching it on Twitch. If you are watching this on YouTube, it'll be out in 2 days.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Because this will be
Which you won't know about that now if you're watching it on YouTube, but you know. Oh, yeah, you mean the Hollow Knight video. Yeah, sorry. I thought you meant, like, if you're watching this on Twitch, it's now. If you're watching this on YouTube, this podcast will be out in 2 days.
I meant, okay.
Yeah, I get what you meant now. The Hollow Knight video, yeah.
I misspoke, thank you. So, that's it for this week. We will see you guys next week, and remember, as always...
Stay beautiful.